The story opens with an ominous scene of a truck approaching a toll booth, where it is stopped for decontamination procedures. Several workers donning hazmat suits meticulously sanitize the area and the vehicle itself. As the truck driver passes through, he accuses the crew of unnecessarily slowing him down and wasting his time. Unfazed, the workers calmly explain that there's no need to hurry or rush this process, and they are just simply carrying out mandatory protocols following a minor leak at a nearby nuclear facility. Impatient, the driver proceeds through the toll, merging onto an eerily deserted road. However, he gets distracted by his ringing phone. He fails to notice a deer crossing his path until it's too late. The impact sends the animal tumbling across the asphalt. After a cursory inspection of the scene, the driver dismisses the incident and continues on with his journey. However, in a chilling twist, the seemingly lifeless doe staggers back to its feet, revealing itself to be infected by an insidious, unknown pathogen. The scene shifts, and we get to meet this guy named Seok Woo-in, who lives and works in the bustling city of Seoul. Seok Woo is a busy fund manager and a divorced father who barely has time for his daughter named Soo-an. After a stressful day at the office, Seok Woo accidentally buys Soo-an the same birthday present he did last year. To make amends, Soo-an seizes the opportunity and expresses her desire to visit her mother in Busan the following day. Seok Woo is initially reluctant due to work obligations, but his mother convinces him otherwise by showing him a heartbreaking video from Soo-an's recent school recital, one he had missed because of his job. In the footage, Soo-an abruptly stops mid-performance of Aloha as her classmates cruelly laugh at her. Overwhelmed with guilt at having neglected such a pivotal moment, Seok Woo resigns himself to book tickets for the next available KTX train bound for Busan the very next morning. Early the next morning, Seok Woo drives Soo-an to the station, but their journey is nearly cut short as they narrowly avoid colliding with a frenzied horde of ambulances and police vehicles. As Seok Woo ponders what could be going on, Soo-an rolls down her window, catching a stray ember floating through the air, prompting her father to notice the ominous plume of smoke billowing from a burning building in the distance. Though uneasy, Seok Woo remarks that something terrible must be happening, but presses on to the train station nevertheless. Once they board the KTX train to Busan, they find themselves among an eclectic group of passengers. The working-class couple Sang Hwa and his pregnant wife Seong Kyung, a cocky high school baseball team, the wealthy but selfish businessman Yeon Suk, a pair of elderly sisters in Gil and Jong Gil, and a homeless man who is hiding in the bathroom. He looks scared and aware of the strange things happening around the city. Yet the full scope of the unfolding horror remains unknown to them all. As the train prepares to depart, a young woman exhibiting bizarre, spasmodic movements boards the cart, her leg marred by a horrific, gaping bite wound. Despite this unsettling sight, the station manager gives the signal for the KTX to embark. However, his attention is quickly diverted by a group of people on top of the stairs of the station, screaming in apparent terror at some unseen threat. Through the window, Soo-an witnesses in horror as the station manager is suddenly and savagely ambushed by what appears to be a rabid, seemingly deranged individual, which only she witnesses. Frightened by the disturbing sight, she hurries to the bathroom. In the lower numbered carts, a train attendant comes across the spasming woman and attempts to provide aid, unaware of the virulent threat she poses. In an instant, and without warning, the woman completes her chilling transformation into a zombie horror, her ravenous jaws clamping down on the attendant's neck. The attendant flees in panic into the cart occupied by the high school baseball team. As the two newly turned zombies collapse to the floor, they unleash a feeding frenzy, rapidly claiming most of the students as their next victims and also creating a horde of zombies in the process. Only 4 students manage to escape the massacre: the baseball player Young Gook, his crush Jin Hee, and 2 unnamed teammates. The zombies race towards the upper compartments, infecting everyone in their path. Unaware of the unfolding nightmare, Soo-an innocently wanders towards the lower compartments in search of a bathroom. Seok Woo awakens to find his daughter's seat empty and receives a frantic call from a coworker warning him of violent riots erupting across Korea. Before he can process this dire news, a stampede of hysterical passengers comes barreling through the compartment, fleeing in abject terror. Seok-woo's paternal instincts kick into overdrive as he realizes Soo-eun may be trapped in the path of the zombies. He takes off in the opposite direction and his worst fears are confirmed. Soo-eun stands mere feet from the oncoming edge of the relentless horde of zombies. Seok-woo snatches up his daughter just as the undead masses are upon them. In a harrowing chase, they narrowly make it back to their compartment and attempt to barricade it, nearly locking Sang-hwa and Seong-kyung out in the process. The survivors struggle to barricade the door. Then they realize that the zombies are mindless and do not know how to open it, and they merely charge at the sight of human life. As the zombies stupidly claw at the door, Seong-kyung's quick thinking, she uses water and newspapers to cover the windows, which remedies the situation by causing the zombies to think they are not there. Over the intercom, the conductor informs the beleaguered survivors that their train will not complete its scheduled route to Busan. Instead, they will be stopping at Daegu Station, where the military has ostensibly been dispatched to handle the crisis. After hearing this announcement, the arrogant businessman Yeon-suk calls his company friends and asks about the situation at Daegu Station. Seok-woo overhears the conversation and picks up on the concerning details of this call, that all arriving passengers are to be forcibly quarantined upon arrival. Determined to avoid the fate of being quarantined, Seok-woo privately calls a co-worker and convinces him to discreetly pick up him and his daughter separately upon arrival in Daegu. As the train pulls into the eerily abandoned Daegu station, Seok-woo takes Soo-eun towards the east exit where their ride awaits, while the other passengers head towards the main exit. However, the homeless man, having overheard Seok-woo's private phone call, decides to follow them. The three go down the hallway where they see a soldier in the distance. Relieved, the homeless man rushes towards the rescuer. Seok-woo tells Soo-eun to stay where she is, and he walks towards the soldier for help. But as he approaches, he realizes with horror that the soldier is critically injured. The soldier begs them to help him before a horde of infected soldiers around the corner, trampling and violently ripping him apart before their eyes. Meanwhile, the other survivors make their way towards the main exit, descending down an escalator. But their hopes are shattered as they discover a large group of seemingly normal soldiers, who all turn out to be infected. The military deployment to secure Daegu has failed catastrophically. In a frenzy of sheer panic, the passengers scramble back up the escalator as the undead soldiers set upon them with ravenous bloodlust. Several unlucky souls are violently ripped apart before the survivors can retreat back into the relative safety of the station concourse. Inside, Seok-woo finds himself and his little daughter boxed in, facing the very same relentless horde of zombified troops. With no other choice, he screams for his daughter to run. The young girl takes off in a panic, nearly colliding with Seong-kyung and Sang-hwa, who are frantically rushing back towards the train alongside the other survivors, desperate to escape the slaughter. Seong-kyung wastes no time, sweeping up Soo-eun and making a beeline for the platform, while Sang-hwa, Seok-woo, Young-guk, and the remaining baseball players desperately fend off the encroaching horde of undead soldiers. After a harrowing skirmish, they manage to lock the exit door behind them, buying a few precious moments of reprieve before sprinting to rejoin the others at the train. Tragically, Young-guk's two companions are set upon and infected mere yards from the platform. Meanwhile, Jin-hee, Yeon-suk, and a handful of other survivors have already boarded the train and secured a passenger cart. As Seong-kyung and Soo-eun race to follow suit, a horrific scene unfolds above them. The glass bridge spanning the platform shatters and sends zombies raining onto the platform. One of the zombies falls between In-gil and Jong-gil, separating them. Jong-gil is forcibly dragged aboard Jin-hee's compartment, and she watches In-gil, Seong-kyung, and Soo-eun run in the opposite direction. The desperate group fragments, with Seong-kyung, Soo-eun, In-gil, and the homeless man barricading themselves in a bathroom within one of the infected train compartments. Meanwhile, Young-guk, Seok-woo, and Sang-hwa secure a temporary haven in a clear compartment. After calling his wife, Sang-hwa realizes she's trapped in the bathroom with the others. Unwilling to abandon them, the three men fight their way through the infested compartments to rescue the group. Along the way, they discover that zombies are blind in darkness when the train goes through a tunnel and they only react to sound. Utilizing this advantage, they successfully rescue Seong-kyung's group. United once more, the survivors all flee together toward the front compartment where Yeon-suk, Jin-hee, Jong-gil, and the train manager have taken shelter. Young-guk texts Jin-hee that they've rescued the others and are headed towards her compartment. Her initial joy quickly sours when the selfish group reacts with hostility to the news, coldly deciding to lock themselves in and abandon the incoming survivors to their fates. With the door locked, Young-guk desperately tries to break through the barricaded door, and Seok-woo and Sang-hwa struggle to keep the zombies from entering on the other side. In a gut-wrenching moment, Sang-hwa realizes there's no time left and he has been bitten in his hand by a zombie. He tells a distraught Seok-woo to escape with his daughter and the others, entrusting him with his pregnant wife's safety. Though anguished, Seok-woo has no choice but to honor his new friend's wish. Seok-woo tearfully apologizes and lets go of the door, pulling Soo-en and Seong-kalyong toward the barricaded compartment door. As the tides of zombies overwhelm him, Sang-hwa manages one last act of love, telling his wife the name he chose for their unborn son before being consumed by the ravenous undead. His tragic sacrifice allows the others to reach fragile safety, if only for a moment. The locked door is finally broken down, allowing the survivors to pile into the compartment safely. But safety comes at a tragic cost, and Gil is not fast enough and falls victim to the undead horde. Racked with grief and anger upon realizing Gil and Sang-hwa could have lived if not for the selfish door barricade, an enraged Seok-woo punches Yeon-suk, demanding to know why he chose to abandon them. Rather than owning his cowardice, Yeon-suk resorts to deceit, falsely claiming that Seok-woo and his group are infected to instill fear in the others. His lies work, turning the initial barricaders against the new arrival survivors, including a distraught Jin-hee. Vastly outnumbered, Seok-woo's group is forced into the hallway between their compartment and the conductor's cart. Once forced out into the hallway, Yeon-suk and the others use their neckties and shirts to tie down the doorknob, preventing Seok-woo's group from re-entering. Jong-gil, shell-shocked after witnessing her sister's needless death, spots Gil's zombified face in the undead mass clawing at the compartment window. In a moment of profound grief and anger, she addresses her infected sister, remarking that she lived a long, full life before this nightmare. But Jong-gil's words are edged with bitter realization that the compartment group's selfish actions led to Gil's demise. Consumed by despair, she makes the wrenching choice to open the door, unleashing the relentless zombies to flood the once safe compartment. All Seok-woo's group can do is watch in horror from the hallway as their erstwhile barricaders are set upon and ripped apart. A cruel reversal, as the ones who locked others out now claw futilely at that same barricaded door, desperate to escape the grisly fates they just condemned others to. A glimmer of hope shines through when the conductor receives a radio alert. He is informed that Busan has managed to hold off the zombie outbreak. However, that hope is swiftly dashed as they approach a station before their destination. The tracks ahead are blocked by piled debris, an impassable barricade. The conductor informs the remaining survivors over the speaker system that he will locate another unobstructed train to take to Busan, wishing them luck as they'll need to disembark and cross the zombie-infested tracks on foot to meet him. The conductor leaves the stranded train. To his relief, his path out is miraculously clear of the zombies. He quickly locates a cargo train and sets a course towards Busan, keeping watch along the tracks for any other living souls in need of rescue from this waking nightmare. Seok-woo's group exits the passenger train, unaware that the wretched Yeon-suk has improbably survived by hiding in the bathroom during the undead onslaught. Hearing the conductor's broadcast, Yeon-suk fights his way out, a handful of undead giving relentless pursuit. Meanwhile, Seok-woo's group makes their way toward the cargo train when suddenly a runaway, flaming freight cart barrels toward them. The impact separates Jin-hee and Young-guk from the others, as the rogue car rams nearby train carts, toppling them to block the path. To rejoin the group, Jin-hee and Young-guk go into one of the next train cars to cross over to the other side through the door, not noticing that Yeon-suk, who's being chased by a zombie, is following them. In a moment of pure, monstrous cowardice, Yeon-suk shoves Jin-hee into the path of the pursuing undead, using her as a literal human sacrifice to buy his own escape. Young-guk desperately fends off the ravenous zombie, but not before it gravely injures Jin-hee. He crumples to the ground, Cradling her spasming body, he starts to sob. Yeon-suk shows not an ounce of humanity, coldly prying open the railcar door and sprinting towards the foremost hope of the waiting cargo train without a backward glance. As Jin-hee's horrific transformation takes hold, choking on her own tainted blood, a distraught young Guk sobs, questioning why fate had to be so cruel. In a final, shattering act, he tearfully apologizes for never sharing his true feelings as her undead jaws clamp down, ripping out his throat in a crimson, eternally silencing, regretful confession of love. In a desperate rush to board the cargo train, Yeon-suk sprints towards it, but his frantic escape is abruptly halted when he twists his ankle on the tracks. Seizing the opportunity, one of the relentless undead trailing behind lunges forward and sinks its teeth into Yeon-suk's exposed ankle. The conductor, witnessing the harrowing scene, rushes off the train cart to offer aid. However, Yeon-suk's self-preservation instincts take over as he callously shoves the conductor towards the zombies, just like he had done to Jin-hee before. Yeon-suk ignored the conductor's cries for help and boarded the train by himself, leaving the conductor behind to be attacked by the ravenous zombies. Yeon-suk only cared about saving himself, no matter who he had to betray or abandon. Amidst the chaos, the homeless man, Suen, Seok-woo, and Seong-kyung find themselves trapped on the other side of the wreckage, cornered beneath a train teeming with the undead. The windows, strained under the relentless assault, threaten to give way at any moment, leaving them vulnerable. Seok-woo spots a narrow opening beneath the train and begins crawling through, but part of the train suddenly collapses, sealing off the escape route before the others can follow him. The impact also shattered a window, allowing a handful of zombies to spill out and advance menacingly toward the three survivors. In a selfless act of bravery, the homeless man makes the ultimate sacrifice, drawing the zombies' attention to himself, buying crucial time for Seok-woo to clear the debris while Seong-kyung and Suen flee to safety. Though at the ultimate cost of the man's own life, they run and manage to get onto the outer platform of the cargo train. Seok-woo carefully approaches the conductor's cockpit, but backs away quickly when he sees Yeon-suk sitting in the conductor's seat with milky, infected eyes. At first, Yeon-suk shuts the door, but then he shockingly opens it again. Despite being infected, the virus hasn't fully reached his brain yet. Yeon-suk comes towards Seok-woo, speaking in a childlike voice. He begs Seok-woo to take him home to Busan, reciting his address and his mother's name. Seok-woo sadly tells him that he's been infected. For a brief moment, Yeon-suk looks stunned and starts crying upon realizing his fate. But within seconds, the infection fully takes over. The last hints of his human self disappear, and he turns into an aggressive, mindless zombie. Seok-woo grapples with the now zombified Yeon-suk, nearly falling off the ledge of the cart. Suen screams from behind, drawing Yeon-suk's attention, and he turns to attack Seong-kyung and Suen. Seok-woo intervenes, but not before Yeon-suk's ravenous jaws clamp down on his hand, inflicting a severe bite. Mustering his strength, Seok-woo manages to hurl Yeon-suk's zombie form off the train cart, but the damage is done. He's been infected. After throwing Yeon-suk off the train cart, Seok-woo realizes the grim implications of his injury. Aware that he'll soon turn, he ushers Suen and Seong-kyung into the cockpit, instructing them to use the brakes upon reaching Busan Station. As he moves to exit, Suen begs him to stay, revealing the heartbreaking reason she didn't finish her recital song that day. She'd been saving the Aloha song for when her father was present. In a tearful farewell, Seok-woo holds Suen's tiny hands momentarily before pushing them away and locking himself out of the cockpit, leaving Suen screaming and sobbing uncontrollably, begging her father to come back. As the infection courses through his body, Seok-woo stumbles down the length of the train cart, sobbing and clutching his bloody, bitten hand. Inside the cockpit, Suen's anguished cries for her father continue as Seong-kyung tries in vain to restrain her. Seok-woo slowly approaches the rear of the cart, his mind flooded with cherished memories of holding his infant daughter, recalling the warmth of cradling her tiny body, her miniature fingers and toes. The same fingers he grasped one last time in the cockpit. As these joyful reveries play out, the cruel infection takes its toll, His eyes turn milky white. His veins start to darken. Yet even as he becomes fully zombified, tender thoughts of Suen persist, and Seok-woo manages a serene, contented smile towards the sky before falling from the cart onto the tracks below. Whether intentional or a final bodily spasm remains ambiguous, but his actions ultimately ensure Suen and Seong-kyung's safety. At long last, the train cart approaches the tunnel leading to the promised sanctuary of Busan Station. However, their journey is not yet over, as the tracks ahead are obstructed by a formidable blockade of debris. With trepidation, Suen and Seong-kyung disembark and begin the final stretch on foot, unaware that they are being watched by the Busan military forces on the other side of the tunnel. One of the snipers reports their approach to his superior, who issues a grim order saying, "Shoot them down." Since they are in the darkness, it is impossible to know whether they are infected or not. As the sniper's finger tightens on the trigger, Suen's voice rings out, mournfully singing Aloha, her mournful notes echoing through the tunnel, urging the exhausted Seong-kyung to keep pressing towards the tunnel's end. Upon hearing the young girl's plaintive song, the soldiers immediately realize that the two survivors remain uninfected by the virus. With renewed urgency, they rush forward to offer aid, the solemn melody having spared Suen and Seong-kyung's lives at the Busan station. The movie ends. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed reliving this gripping tale, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more thrilling stories. Hope to see you on the next video. Until then, may you never hear those blood-curdling zombies growl when you're traveling on a train. Stay safe out there.